For the longest time, my own community has laughed at me. They mocked me, because I refused to believe that Camille could be C. But now, we'll see who'll have the last laugh. I'm still not sure if it's gonna be me. Well, besides all the Ordals and the Grey Legion, the one character that arrived in the newest expansion for Legends of Runeterra, which everyone's been looking at, is Caitlyn. Not only is Caitlyn's new design amazing, and not only would everyone love it if the new design was actually in-game, but also it's because the new cards surrounding Caitlyn talk about the main point of her story arc, which is her dealing with an infamous criminal in Piltover simply called C. And so, in today's video, let's talk about what's the deal with this story arc, as well as what we learned from the new cards. You see, simply summed up, C is a mysterious criminal whom Caitlyn has been hunting down for quite some time. And that would be mainly because Caitlyn's family was murdered by some thugs which C hired. It was never revealed nor even teased who C could be. The only teaser we ever got was Swain's quote. When talking to Camille, he mentions that Camille's niece, which is the current leader of the Pharaoh's family, might be wondering about what C is doing now.
My, does your dear grandniece know what C has been up to?
By this, it may seem like Swain is implying that Camille would be C. However, that assumption never made sense. You see, C was a criminal. It was a person that was robbing armories, and they were setting up traps. But on top of that, after they committed a crime, every now and then they planted down a card, which simply had the C on it. Although I have to point out that that part with the card was changed quite a while back. Now the identity of the criminal is simply known as C. Now if Camille was C, if she was a criminal, why would she leave behind traces? Camille has always acted for the best of the family, even if it was against the law, but she never had a criminal mind. She would never set up traps, and she would never mock the wardens to look for someone called C. That's why in my mind, Camille being C just never made sense. It would be so far out of her character. However, there always were at least tiny reasons why Camille could be C. But those reasons quickly vaporized with the new cards. So now, let's have a look at the storyline which we got from the new Caitlyn's cards. It all starts with Caitlyn, who gathered everyone in the Warden's Tower as she was presenting her case. If you look behind her, you can see all the evidence they collected. They know that C is a female, there is a link to flowers, and they go by the sign C, which was previously shown in the stories. The description says, Caitlyn was always a dogged and thorough investigator, a quality that helped propel her fast through the ranks of Piltover enforcement. But when a case concerning a certain C came along, one that countless other enforcers had abandoned, it seemed almost as though Caitlyn had finally met her match. Almost. The almost means that Caitlyn will find C. But we'll get to that at the end of this. In this image, if you have a look around, you may find all the other Caitlyn's cards. We'll get to all of them, but keep an eye on her. Every now and then she will appear somewhere around. After this gathering, the story continues with the card Insider Knowledge. It's really just a summary of the case. The description says, "This is a popular case, you know. Just had a chap in here earlier looking at it. Enjoy." The words of the station archivist. And the reason why this card is called Insider Knowledge is because when we go to the station archivist, the same figure from before is looking at the documents. This is the chap the archivist was mentioning. The description of this card says, "Detectives are nothing without leads. An archivist's job is to collect every scrap of intel and create new possibilities where none previously existed." So by now you may have figured out that this is an insider. And the reason why she's talking to the archivist is because the archivist has all the leads to this case. Now, super quickly, here we can mention two different things. The archivist was promoted from her previous job. Yes, that's who she was before. But also, it was never mentioned anywhere, but I don't believe this is Professor Von Yip. This cat seems to have none of his characteristics. With that said, the monocle is suspicious. And if it is von Yip, I just don't know when this would be happening on the storyline. Regardless, interestingly enough, we can point out that this cat broke its leg. And I honestly have no idea why that's the case. I might be wrong, but I don't think any of the other cards are explaining this. So if you know why this cat broke its leg, let me know in the description. Maybe it is just right planning for future cards. After this, the team goes out to look for leads. The Justice Rider finds out a truck full of the caustic casks. We have seen these before, and also a vial of these was shown in the cinematic. So this proves that these casks are somehow connected to C. And interestingly enough, in the back, you can see that the driver of this truck is the dealer. A different member of the Wardens also went looking for more evidence. They also found some connections to the caustic casks. And in the background we even see two goons which we have previously seen at a bar. The description of this card explains who this officer is. Zane Asako, like all Zoanite kids, had grown up fast on those violent and dark understreets. After losing his brother to yet another senseless gang crime, he committed himself to Piltover enforcement, hoping reason and law would make his home finally safe. After the team collected more evidence, we then get to the most wanted card. And here is where things get interesting. Because this card, which is showing the face of the alleged C, has the quote of Corina Veraza. Everything has a cost. Yes, it is confirmed that Corina is C, not Camille. And if you are still doubtful, look no further than the quotes.
End of the road, C.
A road you have followed perfectly, little blossom.
So yes, when it comes to Swain, one of two things happened. Either Wright forgot about the fact that Swain teased that Camille could be C, or the C storyline is just finally moving forward. I never believed it would make sense for Camille to be C, and therefore now it may be revealed that Swain was just teasing that Camille may know who C is. Or at least the Pharaoh's family would know. And this case gets more interesting when we get to the officer squad. You see, when you have a look at the design of these guys, you may recognize them from somewhere. Yes, these are the same Wardens with whom Camille has worked before. Camille has worked with the Wardens when she was hunting down Jin. So since Camille is familiar with Caitlyn, the Wardens, and the case of C, it is obvious that Camille definitely has some connections to C. But that doesn't mean that Camille has to be C. So from this point on, I really do believe that Corina is C. Even though she herself never technically admits to it, she just kinda goes along with it. I still believe that she is C, and all of this will just make Camille's story a bit more spicy. It is definitely possible that Camille's niece, who is the head of her family, might have been working with C behind Camille's back. That would honestly be a really cool twist. Because Camille would once again be betrayed by her family member, which would make her turn against the one thing which she is supposed to be protecting. Regardless, right now let's check out how the case of C ends. After collecting all the evidence, this card shows how everyone is preparing to take C down. The description says, from unloading silently into the street to prepping the ram, setup didn't take long. It was just a matter of waiting on Caitlyn's cue. After this, the squad got ready to burst in. Then they rammed through the front door. The ambush card even describes the smoke spinners which they use to mask their movements. After which, in Caitlyn's level 2, she finally faced C. She burst in, leveled her rifle at the culprit, and looked down the scope. There, smiling through the looking glass, was a familiar face. Of course, notice that that familiar face is holding a detonator behind her back. That is the volatile bloom, held by Corina Veraza, which activated a bioweapon. But finally, then we get to Corina herself. After the detonator went off, the Wardens got poisoned with a smokescreen. The description says, Corina smiled as the Piltover Wardens burst down her door, as they trampled her precious flowers underfoot, as they sent up clouds of toxic pollen, all as planned. So yes, it is finally confirmed that C is Corina. And she is the one who had all the insider info all along, because she was a member of the Wardens. That's why she was a familiar face to Caitlyn. Unfortunately, we don't get to learn what happened next. But it seems like Riot consciously turned Corina into C because now they will likely use her as one of the more major characters in the lore. Just like what happened to someone like Cytherea. So I really wouldn't be surprised if we heard about her more. After all, C is a really big part of Caitlyn's story. Even Vi was interrogating people involved in this case. So you know this story arc is not over just yet. So now, as to who will actually have the last laugh? I honestly don't know. This could all be a cover-up. And Camille might be the real C all along. But once again, she's not a criminal. She wouldn't behave the way C did in the stories. But anything is possible. In the end, what I really got from all of this is the dread from knowing that Riot will probably not give Caitlyn this skin. Like really, I absolutely love this design. Riot, for the love of God, please give us a lore skin.